Okay, so, right, I'm going to change over now and we're going to look at, which one should we look at? I think we will look at this case of the poisoner pensioner next. This is, this is going to be, when it all comes to light, this is, a real strange case just generally, isn't it? What on earth would possess a 76-year-old man? Sorry, I'm just trying to put him up in the corner there. But I can't. Hang on. Yeah, what on earth would possess, well, anybody really, but particularly I think a 76-year-old man who's supposed to be, charitable person in charge or the secretary of a charity, what would possess them to give poison to young children who are at their summer camp? It's sort of beggars belief, really, doesn't it? I think this, out of all the cases, and obviously I talk about most of the cases I talk about are pretty crazy, aren't they, in themselves? But this is just, I think it's not only his age, and it just makes you wonder, he's not just arrived at 76, surely, and then started doing horrible things to children. Surely, he's done horrible things to children before. I don't know. To just suddenly arrive at that age and start poisoning children just seems very strange. And the fact that he's involved in a children's charity that's supposed to help disadvantaged children, unfortunately, as we know, predators quite often gravitate towards those kind of jobs, don't they? Because that gives them, gives them contact with vulnerable children and families, and I do get this sort of Jimmy Savile feeling about this. It's like, who is this guy? Why has he done it? And how did he think he would get away with it? It's got Erin Patterson vibes, hasn't it? It's like, poisoning is, how did he think he would get away with it? Poisoning all those children and one. I don't know if he poisoned everybody who was there. So, as I say, we don't know all the full details because this is a criminal investigation that will be leading to a conviction. Probably won't be that much that will come out about it again. But let's have a look at some of the news articles that are being said about it. So this is in the UK. And again, just shows you, all these people that we're going to look at today, him and then Travis Decker, these are not people you would expect to do bad things. These are like, your guy next door. There he is. Jonathan Rubin. Now, people are talking about his religion. Is he Jewish, and would there be a religious motive? But that is pure speculation. Nobody knows that. Where it's like people do speculate. I don't even know that he is Jewish or whether he's done it to, I just don't know, because we don't know the identities of the children who were poisoned. We don't know anything really. What we do know, though, is he's going through quite a bad time. Which obviously is not an excuse for what he's done, but could be a reason. So this is the first picture of the pensioner charged in connection with the suspected poisoning at a children's summer camp. Jonathan Rubin, 76, was arrested on Monday after 8 children and an adult were taken to hospital as a precaution when they fell ill at the Leicestershire camp. All have since been discharged. The camp was being run by the Statham Children's Holiday Fund, SCHF, which provides school. Now, we looked at this the other day, didn't we? It provides school clubs or subsidised holidays for children from socially disadvantaged backgrounds. And Mr. Rubin apparently is a veterinary surgeon, but his business was dissolved last August, according to Companies House records. And he is listed as a trustee of the charity. Now, I read originally that he was the secretary of the charity, so it just goes to show you there'll be a lot of rumours flying around until really officially we hear the truth of what his connection was. We have to take a lot of, was he a trustee? Was he a secretary? What was he? So Leicestershire Police this afternoon announced that Mr. Rubin had been charged with child cruelty offences. He will be charged with 3 offences of willful ill treatment of a child relating to 3 boys. Now, bearing in mind there were 8 children taken to hospital and 1 adult, as far as we've heard before. Why has he not been charged for the others? Or maybe they've just got more evidence about these 3. So he will appear before Leicester magistrates on Saturday. That's today, isn't it? I'll have a look to see if he's appeared yet. So the Daily Mail revealed on Thursday the suspect had been arrested in the car park of the Anchor Inn at Plumgar, 3 miles from Statham Lodge, the facility which staged the camp on Monday. So people have been at pains to say it's nothing to do with the actual site itself. It's to do with him. He's to do with the charity that rented the site to put on this summer camp. But again, full details will come out, won't they? This is the place, which looks like a concentration camp to me. I get very bad vibes off this place. I don't know. It just looks very, I don't know. It just gives me the creeps. Just gives me the complete creeps. So this is an aerial view of Statham Lodge in Canal Lane near Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire in the UK. Why does it look so creepy? So today, a Nottinghamshire police car remained outside Mr. Rubin's bungalow at affluent Ruddington on the edge of the city. Neighbours said there had been police activity at the property since Monday. A local resident who didn't want to be named said, "We haven't seen any white-suited forensic teams. But what we assume are detectives have been coming in and out and taking bags of stuff away. Eventually, we went and asked them because we were so worried. They were really tight-lipped, but eventually all they would say when we asked them the specific question was there hadn't been any loss of life. They said we would find out eventually, and on Thursday we did." So the neighbour said police had been at the address 24/7 since arriving on Monday. And he added, "The whole thing is a complete and utter shock. We gather he has run the charity for the long time. It's a wonderful cause. He does a lot of good work. He's a lovely guy. They are a lovely couple." Do you know, this is what we hear all the time, isn't it? These people, they walk amongst us. They are your neighbour next door. Your nice neighbour next door. Maybe your horrible neighbours, they're less likely to be twonks like this because they're openly twonks. These are like the ones that seem to be all nice and everything's fine and, lovely couple, helping charity, etc. Just don't know. You really don't know. I do think it's time, people stopped sort of thinking that predators look a certain way or have a certain religion or have a certain skin colour or have a certain sexuality. We don't, this guy is a predator one way or another if he's found guilty. Yeah. Ooh, it gives me the absolute chills. Oh my God, I've got shivers going down my spine. Anyways, innocent till proven guilty. We knew he was doing camps this summer, although we didn't know he was away at the weekend. We last saw him on Thursday last week. I think this is going to be a big case. I think there's going to be a lot coming out of this somehow, more than this. So the neighbours said, to be honest, we're hoping it is all a terrible mistake. And Janine McKinney, Chief Crown Prosecutor for the East Midlands, said, the Crown Prosecution Service has authorised the prosecution of a 76-year-old man with child cruelty offences following a police investigation into a summer camp held at Stathen Lodge, Leicestershire. This decision has been made after reviewing a file of evidence from Leicestershire Police. Jonathan Rubin will be charged with 3 offences of willful ill-treatment of a child relating to 3 boys. He will appear at Leicester Magistrates Court on Saturday, August the 1st. This has been an extremely upsetting and shocking moment for the community, and especially for the children and parents most directly affected. So now she says, and of course it will all probably go pretty quiet now, we would like to remind all concerned there are now active criminal proceedings against Mr. Rubin, and he has the right to a fair trial. There must be no reporting, commentary or sharing of information online that may in any way prejudice these proceedings. The 8 children who were taken to hospital were all boys aged between 8 and 11. And a Leicestershire police statement said the charges follow a report received on Sunday that children at a summer camp being held at Stathen Lodge in Canal Lane, Stathen, near Melton, had become unwell. So we've got to wait and see for this one. You know, they're asking people don't speculate. It's very difficult not to speculate though, isn't it? Stathen Lodge is owned by the Braithwaite Gospel Trust, a charity which provides facilities to groups who have the primary aims of advancing education, advancing the Christian religion, and giving help to the less well off. And trustee Jonathan Jessen confirmed that the facility was being used by a group from Nottingham. And he said the trust owns the lodge. They let it to independent groups as self-catering hostel accommodation. And the charity was set up by a Christian farmer in the early 1970s. And part of his will dictated that Stathen Lodge would be used for the good of young people. Now, so this is curious. On Thursday, Leicestershire Police said the suspect had been arrested on suspicion of administering poison or a noxious thing with intent to injure, aggrieve, or annoy. Poison or a noxious thing. So what is that? I mean, he's not cyanide or arsenic, because these children would be dead. So what is it? So they're calling it a complex and sensitive investigation. Then, of course, there was the problem with the initial police response. You know, the people had complained about that. So Leicestershire Police has referred itself to the IOPC. Yeah. And they'll look into that. So, yeah, there's a lot going to come out about this case, but not yet, is there? Because at the end of the day, now that it's going to a criminal proceedings, we probably won't get to know much for a little while now about what's going on. It'll all be going on behind the scenes. But this man is in custody. I hope he stays in custody as well. Surely they're not going to let him out on bail. You know, because to me, although nobody died, maybe he wasn't intending to kill, but this is a man in a position of trust and responsibility. parents send off their children to summer camps, probably delighted that their children are going to get a little, holiday type thing. Maybe they can't afford to take their children on holiday. These people prey on vulnerable families, don't they, that don't have much money, and the parents probably thought, oh, that's nice for the kids to go off and stay with other kids, and there's probably activities, etc. And then this happens. So when someone in a position of trust and responsibility, it's worse than anything, isn't it, at the end of the day? And as a 76-year-old man, you can't be saying, as I think I said yesterday, he's not an angry young man, is he, with teenage angst or whatever. He should know better at 76 than to be hurting children. So what do you think? So don't forget to let me know what you think in comments, because what we think, that's what we're here for. I might say no speculation, but you can't stop people from speculating. You may as well forget that. And that's not to do with social media. I was thinking about it years ago. Do you know, things would still spread even though we didn't have social media years and years ago. And say even in my mum and dad's lifetime, they didn't have social media. They didn't even have telly or anything. Radio really probably was all they had. But things still spread. They still got to know what was going on, famous cases that were going on. They knew about my parents got to know about Dr. Crippen and other cases like that. I remember, like, when I was young, we got to hear, there was newspapers, the telly, obviously, and radio. Things spread. And I was thinking about how this, maybe it's a funny example, it's not a crime actually, but if you ever watched Dallas, like in its heyday, the series Dallas, which I did, and we all loved it. The thing about Dallas TV series, American TV series with JR and all that, is everybody loved it, all ages. I loved it. I was a teenager, but my parents loved it. Everybody watched it. It was on a Wednesday night. It was the only day of the week that I would stay in. I used to go out every night, like when I was sort of in my teens, 17, 18, etc. Every night I was out. And then Dallas, though, Wednesday night, that was the one night I'm not going out because Dallas is on. I loved it with so much. And then, of course, you'll probably remember, if you do remember it, the cliffhanger when JR got shot, and it was who shot JR. Everyone was talking about it. Well, we didn't even have social media then. So it was like people still got to know about it all. It's still spread around. I think things do, some things catch the public interest, whatever. And then going to, obviously that was a TV program, but even looking at crimes like the Sower murders or the Moors murderers, we didn't have social media then, but it's still, everybody got to know about it, the Yorkshire Ripper, etc. So, you can't blame everything on social media. They just can't. So we are going to speculate about this case. We're going to wonder what the hell happened, why this guy did what he allegedly did. And people are going to talk about it. And instead of just trying to pretend that people aren't going to speculate it, maybe they should just let it go. Let people speculate. At the end of the day, people speculate, and it's not prejudicing a trial or whatever. The trial is based on the evidence, and people will say things, whatever. Anyway, that's what I think. So, I'm sick of hearing this all, don't speculate. And then, of course, nobody speculates more than the mainstream media, that's for sure. Okay, so that's that case. Don't forget to let me know what you think in comments. Yeah, exactly. Speculation is a natural thing. And what they've got to remember is in the beginning of these cases, always, especially missing persons cases, etc., and manhunts, like, the police are always asking for the public's help. You can't ask for the public's help in one breath and then suddenly say, oh, well, actually, don't talk about it now. You know, you ask for the public's help, the public start talking about it. Quite often the public solves the case. That was a member of the public that found Julian Story's head. It wasn't the police. Most cases, many cases, are solved by the public or with help from the public. So you can't then just say, all right, well, thanks for your help, but now that's it, don't say anything. You know, that is human nature, to be inquisitive, to talk, to discuss, to speculate, to wonder. It's all human nature. So as long as it's not hurtful, or, you know, that's not like making things up completely either. So there is a difference between speculation and somebody on social media saying this happened, or putting making false videos or making false claims. That's different. I'm not talking about that. You know, I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, you know, Jonathan Rubin is such and such, when I don't even know that that's true. I might say, oh, so, you know, I've heard that it's possibly this, or I'm not going to go on there and say, oh, this is definitely, and some social media people do that, and I don't agree with that one. But speculation is a whole nother thing.